Welcome back for what could be the final game of the day. KT Rolster versus Mad Team. With Team Liquid taking down EDG in the previous matchup, that means that with a win here, KT will secure that first seed.
But with KT Rolster, the old adage of don't spend it before you've earned it should always be applied. Getting excited about KT, one of the oldest memes. I'm of the opinion that KT finally winning the big one has dispersed this meme, but I'm not sure if I want it to be tested, so we'll see if KT Rolster can shake off that loss to EDG a couple of games ago. They're on the blue side this time. They're going to have to mix it up in draft.
And of course, now it is Mad Team that are playing the spoiler. Mad Team that want to get on the board. If they win, then KT will have to play a tiebreaker with EDG. And considering how exciting that first game that they had today was, looking forward to it a little bit.
If we're going to be greedy, we want to see another game.
We want more games.
And we're greedy casters.
And I mean, last game was the spoiler from Team Liquid, taking down EDG. If you looked at the last time those teams played, you would probably expect EDG to win that game, but not today. Team Liquid found it. If Mad Team can find their first win of Worlds here, that means we get one more game after.
If we're vocalizing, our hopes and dreams right now, Mad Team, now is when I want to start seeing some flavor picks. So many teams at Worlds already have found success, playing to their strengths and things that they have come up with that not necessarily every other team is playing, not necessarily considered meta, not, people aren't really stretching out as much as they really should.
And I think when it comes for attacking KT, I know this doesn't sound like the best way to go, but 5 great players, it can be difficult. I think you play through your strength, and to me, whenever I watch Mad Team, it's their jungler, it's Kongyu, and his ability to take over a game. Kindred did not fit. The early game didn't help from score last time out, so maybe try to attack the player that had a bit of a down game last time out.
And Kongyu did manage to be the one who got first blood for Mad Team against EDG earlier today. We'll see if maybe they can work through him this time around. I'm trying to remember the exact stat that Jat shared on the desk at the start of the day, but something along the lines of 19 champs. But it's actually Benny that's going to be subbed in for Mad Team. He'll be there in the jungle.
All about getting some stage experience in this game where the team is already eliminated. You might think, okay, does that hurt the chances for EDG to force the tiebreaker? Let's remember back to yesterday where a certain jungle Camille came off the bench and won an important game for Fengvu Buffaloes. It has been a world that's been very kind to sub players.
That's true. I mean, Kongyu, though, he was the all-pro jungler in the LMS, so it's definitely going to also put some extra burden on the rest of Mad Team, I feel like. Let's see what they can pull out, because already starting off with Xayah is a strong place.
Well, the point that I was making before I realized that there was a substitute in the jungle is I believe Jat said there were 19 different picks so far this Worlds that had only been played by a single player. Pocket picks are the name of the game. They're cool now. I want to see Mad Team break out something from the back pocket as KT Rolster does go for the Irelia for themselves. Responded to with the Xayah and the Gragas. Nothing too meta-breaking yet.
Yeah, blind Irelia here. Now, Irelia is a flex pick. Smeb is definitely one of the top laners that would take a skill matchup with this champion. So don't automatically assume this is going to the mid lane, even with a Shen locked in. Possibly support Shen there. So a lot of flexibility here from KT Rolster, and that's what you want to see from a team on the blue side.
And I think it's very likely that Benny will be jumping on the Gragas. He's largely this year, of course, played a lot less in summer with Kongyu taking over, been focusing on the tank junglers. So the Gragas kind of straddles the line, can still build ability power, but it's a skill set that he's developed. So we'll see how he looks on the world stage. And just rounding out the draft here for the side of Mad Team. Seems like power picks across both sides, but I think you're definitely right. To me, Smeb and Yukal, both great Irelia players.
Smeb and Yukal, some guys who have done plenty of heavy lifting for KT Rolster throughout this tournament. They've had plenty of good performances for themselves. Going into the second round robin today, they were number 1 and number 2 in overall KDA among all groups. Yukal had a 28.0, Smeb had a 24.0. Those are extremely high numbers.
And already here too, we did see the takeaway of the Lissandra. Uniboy feels like he is going to pull off some Aftershock as well. I believe that's what he used. And we'll see if that will be a good nullifier for the mid lane, because that's a good, decent answer. Irelia, everyone always talks about the level 6 going all in for the kills. So if it happens to be swapped to the mid lane, he does have an answer.
But Mad Team does seem to be subscribing to the fact that it might be a top lane Aurelia for Smeb with 2 more mid lane bans. There's 2 reasons to do this. One is just to attack a champion, but also maybe they want to force it to be a top lane Aurelia and have a matchup in mind for that.
We have also seen, of course, top lane Lissandra as well. That's why we're seeing Syndra ban come out from KT Rolster. They are also covering all bases.
Well, now that those bans have been completed in the second phase, Swain, LeBlanc, Syndra, Kindred, what is the pick here from Mad? Thinking about the Nocturne there in the jungle, which would, of course, mean that the Gragas has to go somewhere else, likely into that support position for K.
Now, Nocturne is actually one of my favorite combinations with Lissandra. Lissandra has her greatest strength coming in on a flank for the enemy team. And if you Nocturne ult right as a Lissandra teleports or approaches from the side with the claw, it makes the Lissandra's job so much more easy to execute.
That claw obfuscation, the fact that you have so little vision to be able to see what's happening around you, means your wits are largely going to be elsewhere. We're looking on the side of KT Rolster. The inner jungler is going to be Xin Zhao once again for score. Was victorious on that pick against EDG in the first round, Robin. Final pick here. They could play around with the Shen. It might just be the support. Now it's confirmed to be the Gragas in the bot lane. See what Mata picks up for the team on the side of KT.
One more to go, and with Sion being the lock-in, you would assume, yes, it is the Shen support, unless Sion's looking to kick around some minions there in the bottom lane. Highly doubt it.
I wonder if it'll be the mid lane Sion. That's my interesting question here. Notice that we do have the Camille locked in, and the split push pressure of Wundo was a big highlight earlier in the season. So let's see how this one goes here.
Exactly. I saw them rushing into the Camille pick here. Oh, Sion, great. Let's do the Camille. Let's do the split push. Swap that sucker up to laying in the top side. However, KT Rolster, not so quick there. UCal holds on to this one for now.
Sometimes you want to hold on a little bit longer. You didn't need to lock it in instant, but feeling confident. We'll see if we get that confirmation. Coming down to 20 seconds on this time.
20 seconds left, and that means Irelia's top. Sion is mid here for the side of KT Rolster. This team that can still finish this group 5-1. This team that can still walk away with that first seed right here.
I am incredibly excited to have the opportunity now for a carry v carry matchup here at Worlds. We have had plenty of tanks, a full roster, but now we've got Liang versus Smeb, Aurelia versus Camille. Who can get the advantage? Because when both teams are running these carry top laners, that determines so much of the mid game, who will have the pressure on the sideline.
And just with the texture of the dross we're seeing, there was a bit of a preview of what we might have when we hit the best of 5s. Yes, there will be tank v tank games. There will also be carry v carry games with all the buffs to Darius, Fiora, and the more seen Camille and the champions we're seeing in the meta right now. We saw Jax yesterday. Anything is possible at the highest level.
And you said that you wanted to see creativity come out from Mad Team. We wanted to see them try something different here in this final game they'll be playing at Worlds 2017. And specifically what I want to see is Mad Team try to get ahead. I mentioned when we saw KT up against EDG, they've spent barely any time in a big deficit so far at Worlds. And if you can put them there, maybe they won't know how to get back. Maybe that's your win condition here for Mad Team, trying to find that first win.
This has also got to be such an exciting moment here for Benny. His first game on the world stage, getting to participate with the rest of the squad versus one of the world's very best. KT Rolster, you cannot buy experience like this.
Definitely cannot, especially because they've been paired together now for the better part of 2 years. Yes, UCal did join a couple of weeks into the spring season this year, but the veteran status of 4 players here who are both all legends in their role and also have a very extensive history, both at the World Championship and domestically, does mean that KT, it often does slide into place, but like Flowers says, a couple of quick kills and suddenly KT will be on the back foot 2 games in a row.
Now let's see if we're going to get anything delayed here in the jungle as an early start. You're not seeing any deep vision. You're not seeing any immediate invades. K is just hanging out there on that ward. Not a big deal because he's in neutral territory, but Seems like we won't get too much of it. Both junglers going to be starting on the bottom side of the map. Benny at the blue, Score at the red, and nothing too special really to talk about there with those starts.
Yeah, we do have a leash here from Mad Team, you know, helping slingshot this Nocturne towards level 6. Of course, the idea, try and get him level 6 as early as possible. Maybe he'll pay it back in the bottom side, but this does mean that Mata and Deft have the inside track on the minions. They will be able to execute them quickly here, get the push going. It looks like Breeze will quickly answer, and we see the very classic by now, almost standard jungler through the bottom side, up to the Scuttle Crab. Passes by that ward, but does get seen by the Pixel Breast one, I
That was the
believe.
same camp tried earlier in the tournament against Team Liquid the first time out. They got a lot more value that time. Much safer entrance to lane, the long way from Mad Team. Means no health bar advantage for Deft and Mata in the 2v2.
Yeah, Mad Team really making sure they respect that probability that there's going to be Score pathing through there early on. As Smeb dashing around here, trading back and forth with Liang early on, but Liang's getting the better of him. He might just find the solo kill on the Smeb. It was down to a single auto attack, but first blood to Mad Team.
That is incredible here. Smeb gets solo killed on the world stage. Level 2 carry, free carry within the minions, and Liang is able to make it happen. You saw the shield come up here. Adaptive shield from Camille helping out in the trade and kind of forcing him back off.
Smeb starts at a health disadvantage, but the stun registers QE skilled up by Smeb. Tries to play around vision. It ends up being close, but I think it was Camille comfortably at the clutch.
The minions almost finished the job, but able to duck into the brush in time. Means that Smeb will not get a return kill in that trade, and now Liang's underneath the turret as Score's hanging out nearby.
Yeah, now that action is going to attract junglers. You see actually both of them. Since Benny on the Nocturne has gone with a hard power clear, he's cleared every single camp up towards this side in his efforts to try and reach level 6 as quickly as possible. He'll end in this area as well. So if Score does end up actually leaving, Smeb might have to have another reset.
Doesn't mean that Xin Zhao's missed out on a lot of camps. They're going to go pick up his blue buff now. Just wanted to allow the shop to come through. Some items here for Smeb, who's piecing together, honestly, whatever he can get.
Yeah, he's going to have a hard time, though. He did have to go with the recall because Score is like, hey, I can't spend all day up here. I've got almost all my camps up. I need to go clear my camps. You're going to have to recall, take another hit as far as the CS is going because this Nocturne, one of the biggest benefits of doing this hard clear, you know, power farming route is actually that your camps will come up that much quicker for the second round, which are more valuable, and you can use those before you go for your first gank. Right now, though, he's heading down the river while he has some time on the small ones respawning.
Yep, still a little bit of time to go. Remember, this isn't the olden jungle of Season 6 and everything before where the camps are just constantly popping up. You've got some downtime to see if you can make something happen, but it doesn't look like Benny has the opportunity to really get in there anytime soon, as Score will go right back to the chickens, and we'll see him farm those up. He is doing it on a ward, but it's not really a big deal. There's no contest here.
Yeah, Score, the only difference here, he hasn't been able to go for a recall. He spent his time grabbing those Scuttle Crabs, which is very important, providing quite a lot of golden experience as well. But he's got his duty to finish off clearing his small camps before he goes for the recall, and has caught back up very nicely.
Do love seeing the aggressive hookshot trades. One of the best ways to win as the Camille in lane is to feel aggressive enough to take a hookshot trade. They knew the Xin Zhao was on the bottom side of the map, so no counter ganks available. So trade up while you have this item lead, as Lang does.
Exactly. Again, we've seen the most success for teams here at Worlds this year when they show no fear, going right to the opponent. Liang, no exception here on the Camille, and you can see Smeb now playing respectfully.
Trying to minimize any sort of additional losses he might take, recognizing that he did get solo killed earlier, not wanting to put himself at any more risk as he farms up. Benny on the top part of the map will find level 5 now, 5.5 minutes into the game, grabbing that Scuttle Crab. Next level means it's time to hit the go button.
Next level.
Liang goes in. He has the ultimate available here on the Camille. Hextech ultimatum not going to be issued, but Smeb takes the pain on that one.
And that is with the minion wave here. Cannon wave pushing. So Smeb in a dangerous spot. That is his last tick of the corrupting potion charge. Benny almost level 6 coming over on the Nocturne. He really wants to go get level 6 first. If he did Krugs, he would get it, but it's not going to be the case. Score's coming up to protect. We're seeing a mid lane roam, though. They could force it through, even with that.
Ain't no party like a top lane party. Let's see if Mad Team can make it happen. Smeb's almost back up to full HP. Lissandra Claw coming through. Score's going to be in some trouble and immediately deleted. Flash coming away from Smeb, but he's still going to be locked down by the ulti. Hextech Ultimatum comes out. Reinforcements have arrived. UCal smashes them and manages to get one in return. Can he grab the kill onto Benny as well? Uniboy trying to provide the peel. The fear's going to go off, but not in time. The double kill goes over, and UCal makes it an even trade.
The instant proc there of the Q, enough to finally pick up the kill as the fear tether was about to hit. So he does spare the blushes of his duo there, the jungle and the top lane. Bot side kind of wondering what this was all about, but it's all about timings, and specifically Uniboy having his ult up.
Yeah, Mad Team, they see juicy opportunity here. 3 members, they easily take down Score quickly under the turret, but with the roam up through the river, UCal gets into position, hits the AoE knock-up, is able to zone them backwards so they can focus down the Camille first and then turn on the Nocturne.
Then he tried to get away, but that was so close to that fear going off. He just quick casted the Q right at the very end to grab the kill there. Good play coming out from UCal. And bottom side, it's KT looking to return the favor. Score goes in with a vengeance. Finds himself that first kill. K's in some trouble. No ulti to disengage anything. Deft goes right back in with a killer instinct, but now Benny wants to mop him up. Can't quite do it. One more turret shot would have made it happen, but that's still going to be advantage for KT.
You love to love the mind games there from Deft. Steps back, then ults in with the killer instinct shield to guarantee the kill. Paranoia's not enough, and that time KT get the gank around bot lane to get the bot side of the map going.
KT Rolster now ahead in gold after the strong start from Mad Team. Let's take another look at how it started, though, because this is a good job from Score. Now, notice he's level 5 right now, so he jumps in, he gets the kill, immediately levels up his ultimate, does not auto-attack the Gragas, uses the ult for the knockback to gain that extra distance, and then Deft, when his level 6 comes in, he gets to use the killer instinct to finish off the second kill.
That's definitely some quick leveling up there, so a little tip at home. The control R was very important.
Hotkeys, very important, even for the level ups, so definitely have that ready.
We talk about big brain plays in League of Legends. Your head's got to be hurting when your brain's able to be big enough to react to that in the moment. I really like the heads up there from Score, recognizing the fact that he would level and being able to make that play. It does mean that 2 kills over to KT gets them the gold lead, even though it's pretty slight right now. K makes his way back down towards the bottom side. Scuttle was secured by the side of Mad Team, so KT will be spotted as they rotate through that bottom part of the river.
Now there's some silver lining also for the Aurelia, who, as we know, cannot trade with the enemy to kill Camille against a couple of assists for Aurelia because of what's going on in the bot lane. Once the laning phase is over, Kai'Sa and Shen are both so important when it comes to actually helping a skill matchup go their way. The Stand United is the obvious one, right? Just pop in, the taunt, the ability to have a bit of an extra shield, but actually Kai'Sa in Korea at least is often using a 1-3-1 just to combo ult with the killer instinct to join. So there's multiple ways to bail Smeb out of a solo kill lane that he's really been struggling in.
A very good point, and you really, really need to keep up the communication. Call every back from the enemy bottom lane, because even before a 1-3-1 setup, before turrets have fallen, if you get the early recall on the Kai'Sa, you can even go through lane and go for one of those ganks for your top laner. It's rarely seen to gank for the top laner as a marksman, but pulling in that lane swap can have huge rewards as well. Currently, though, on the bottom side, Score making another pass.
And remember, if you try to go on to anybody on KT that is not named Mata, Stand United now stands ready, and that means they have so much extra protection power. As bottom side, it's both junglers.
There's 4 control wards and Benny in vision here, so the vision advantage for KT is immense.
Score could jump in here over that wall. See if Benny can get out. Damage coming through there. Wind becomes lightning, slows him on down. Nice cast to try to save him, but Deft still has the final shot.
This switch in focus from KT after the solo kill on top side and the maybe successful follow-up there on the tower dive has really been the key for them. Returning down bottom once again, they invade on Benny, and they take it to the Nocturne before the Nocturne can make the offensive play.
And let's talk about how important it is to have a control ward line down the river and the brush control on the bot side of the map. That means that Yukal can do his best Galio impression and ult down the river at any moment. So he'll just duck down the bot, he'll kite down bot after clearing the wave, and then you are so immensely scared that Benny is called in for a counter gank, but even that is in vision of KT.
Biggest indicator when you're looking for a team's next step is to follow the control wards. Where do the wards point you? And that is the way to the next objective. First turret bonus gold does go down for KT Rolster on the bottom side.
And that is the 6th out of 6 games that KT has got first turret here in the group stage. This team's control over early objectives has been rather immaculate at this point, and they've got themselves a 2,000 gold lead because of it. They've got themselves in another major lead because of it, which, as I stated in the game against EDG, they've had for about 2/3 of their total time on Summoner's Rift during the group stage.
And that means, compared to Afrika, who might be in bailout, our top lane carry perspective, when you are blessed to have Deft Armada on the bot side, when you do have other options to play around, you can make counter plays. But Mad Team's top laner is where their gold is largely centered, and he's on the prowl for now.
Yeah, they have control wards of their own, and they're placed around the mid lane. A lot of Mad Team lying in wait, looking for this Scion.
But that's a Scion, Kobe. That's a big old meatball. And the thing is about trying to kill meatballs, it's really hard. I don't know how well that's going to work out.
Also true if they're hugging the turret here. Yukal with some intelligent play, not risking anything. There's no need for him to step up to the minion wave versus Alessandra, not accounting for the rest of the team. You can definitely tell the communication going through, and the ability of KT Rolster here to keep track of the enemy opponents when they are not revealing themselves within their own lanes.
And they've really become strong at knowing where they're weak and knowing where they have power. And that's an important thing. You see Smeb just chilling in a brush. He understands he can't contest wave against Camille. Same thing about Yukal, and it's map read to not walk up with 4 members of Mad Team on the prowl. They're doubling down on bot side control. 1 control ward around the blue buff. But otherwise, KT just looking for ways to grow what is, at the moment, about a 2,500 gold lead.
KT with a stranglehold over the bottom jungle of Mad Team right now. So many wards being placed down. Leong, the strong point of Mad Team, as you've said. Benny's here on the top side to maybe facilitate some sort of a dive. This is the only part of the map they're strong in. They're looking to build that strength even further, and they'll find the kill into Smeb.
Nice stun right there off of the turret coming through. Benny clearing the ward, and they instantly pull the trigger after they finish it. That should be a tower in answer for Mad Team.
Most people might be surprised by how early the Nocturne ult was and the fact that it was under turret, but remember, that denied the Shen from joining in to try to help the health bars under a turret. You think about Shen coming in, the dodge field is going to be deadly against Camille and Nocturne. Then if you end up getting hit by the Aurelia ult, you're disarmed. So needed to be proactive around that play, did Mad Team.
Quick decision making goes such a long way versus a team with reactive ultimates like Stan United.
And now Score has taken the opportunity to grab the first Drake of the game here for his team. There was no rush on that one. Mountain Drake #1 will come into more use later on in the game, but we're still only 14 minutes in, so it's not like Baron's alive. It's not like big turret pushes are going to come in from either side all the way down marching towards the base. Instead, it's just Yukal and Uniboy farming up here in the mid lane. Yukal slightly behind in terms of farm, but man, he's a Scion. It's okay to fall behind a little bit. You're still going to be so useful in all these fights.
It's okay for him because he can rely on Deft. 2 kills and a large CS lead for the Kai'Sa on KT Rolster. Meanwhile, though, for Mad Team, yes, they are behind, but they're not so far behind that they still cannot find success through this Camille in the side lane. Leong, level 11 now on the Camille, trying to continue split pushing. Meanwhile, in the jungle, though, we're still trading with a couple supports here as K taking the blast cone over with Mata.
Mata gets himself away with the blast cone. K goes over the wall, but he's like, nah, I really don't want to hang out here. This doesn't seem like a very cool place. I'm not very welcome. And Shelly is quickly going to be evicted from her Riverside home as KT decide they want some more pushing power here in the mid-game. They'll pick up the Eye of the Herald, and we'll see where they decide to drop.
Good timing on the start there from the side of KT. Uniboy was on a back. Camille, who has most of the gold for Mad Team, was down bot lane, so wasn't going to be a contest. They continue to push along to KT Rolster. Want to find a way to take this top lane turret, and that's why so much vision has been placed around this quadrant.
Yeah, KT really want to finish up the second outer turret here before the Camille Trinity Force comes in. this is going to be much easier for Leon to get to this power spike than Smeb. Smeb trying to catch up, still very much trailing. And once that does come through, it can really, open up this game. Look at the individual gold difference here. Almost 14,000 just between these two.
And when they're the same archetype of character, when they're both
100.
the fighter, when they're both the fighter diver and they're both building the exact same items, it quickly turns into a you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about situation with the inventories. As Smeb's just like, man, I wish I had those same items. He's doing the same thing, he's just not doing it as well right
And
now.
the only way that KT can continue to build what is a slender gold lead is to play elsewhere than Smeb, so unfortunately has to continue just taking what feels like a dog matchup. He just has to deal the best he can when he's outgunned by both the roams and also the 1v1. Yukal sparing the blushes for a little bit, but until the Infernal Drake spawns, everyone's playing topside from KT.
It really does do so many interesting things to the game when, yes, overall KT Rolster have this big gold lead. However, individually, if you can isolate it to just those two champions, Camille versus Aurelia, that would be where Mad Team could look to make a play, and currently is going to get some alone time with this turret.
And honestly, the KT lead, it's not super huge. It's about 1,000 gold, which was where the EDG versus KT matchup also was for a very long time in the early mid-game.
Junglers heading down bottom. If they make a play in this area, that is the best possible opportunity for Mad. See if Score forces it.
All right, give me that 2v2 action. Let's see it here. Smeb's still defending. Score behind him, ready in case the dive comes in. Remember, they also have the Shen that could go in on this one, looking to keep him safe as here comes the dive. Score's going to be kept alive for now. That defensive field from the Shen is so important, and Benny pays the price. Leong is shut down now, and a double kill over to Smeb is a big win for KT.
Mata not going to be caught sleeping this time.
No,
they
sir.
were well prepared for this one. The early stand united, right as Mad Team fully commit to the tower dive, turns it all around.
And it was also a rude awakening spotting Score as he went for the hook shot. Didn't want to find two members there. Score level 11 as that play begun. Didn't die at the start. They brought in the backup, and now KT have kills on the Aurelia. And speaking of kills,
Deft, top side, gonna grab himself a solo kill onto Breeze. If Breeze isn't careful, Mata coming around trying to make it a reality. Good flash over the wall from Breeze getting away. But Score, this guy in the jungle for KT, you pick the Zins out to have success in the early game, and he's at 100% KP from plays like this.
and when people talk about pathing junglers, they talk about Score because he knows to be in the right spot. The stun does register mid-hook shot. Score is there as well, and that's the start of a good play for the side of KT.
Again, it could have been such a different story if you get an earlier Nocturne ultimate to block the stand united and they finish off Score. But with the communication here and the timing on KT, Mata gets the stand united off, and that means KT actually get a win on what would be their only weak part of the map.
The scary part is it's a bit of a 1-2, maybe even a 3-punch when we talk about the Rift Herald, because the lead in the other parts of the map, we already talked about how at the time Aurelia was behind, was only going to be felt on the next back from Deft when he finished his Stormrazor and also the Rage Blade for a duo of things. Now the kills are there, the Trinity Force is there for the Aurelia, and what about a mid lane turret to be the cherry on top?
Mid lane turret over to KT, and I joked around earlier about the inventory difference when they wanted the same thing from the top laners this game. Now it is the same thing. Ninja Tabby, Tiamat, Trinity Force. It's a corrupting potion versus two Dorian's Blades, and at this point in the game, that difference is minimal. The mid lane, the other solo laner for KT, Yukao's got Righteous Glory, Gargoyle Stoneplate, and a Giant's Belt to further pad the health. He's a monster.
And now we are about to transition into those team fights, so it's very important that Yukao, gonna be the point man for the team on this Scion, has those tanky abilities. His Righteous Glory will allow the easy engage. Further though, Mad Team actually jumping to the objective here. They should be able to finish this off quickly.
They want to grab that Infernal Drake, but KT is not willing to give it over without a fight. Smeb's coming in first. Leong's going to be in some trouble here. Multiple members collapsing, and they take down the most fed member of Mad Team. Now they collapse under the Drake. Thanks for the leash, boys. KT pick it up and walk on out.
I really thought Leong was gonna come help with the dragon, but now
Deft. Deft wants to go in. He missed the solo kill earlier. He wants to find it now. Breeze is taken down. Deft goes into the stasis. Benny uses the ulti, but now there's no way out. The taunt comes in. The smash comes down. The kill goes through and scores on a killing spree.
And that's what happens there. Deft opens up because of the artist. The fight continues.
More smashes, more dashes, more crashes as the bullets come through, and Deft is on a rampage.
KT Rolster takes so much off of that. I thought Mad Team had the perfect little play there, sneaking over to the Inferno with a timing window to try and burn it down and then run away, given the deficit. But they go for the engage, and KT Rolster happy to take that one, and they take most of the rest of the map.
KT is back with a vengeance. They say we shouldn't have lost to EDG. We're not going to lose here. We want first place in this group, and this big purple worm's going to help us.
And there's a reason why people have wanted KT on the international stage for the past 2 years in full flight. They are such a treasure to watch. The fight looked like it'll be over after just a single kill. But KT, they take the kill, they take the Inferno, and then Deft says, wait, I can play make. He puts down his trinket ward, and he goes in from there.
Yeah, Breeze not respecting the trinket ward giving vision, so that allows Deft to hit his W, take the killer instinct, and he's got stopwatch ready. That means the rest of the team can punish anyone waiting around him afterwards. And actually didn't even stop here, because K went in, used the ultimate to try and push back Mata, and an offensive Lissandra ult opens him up for a taunt. And another shot there from Deft picking up the kill.
That is always feels bad when the final auto attack is in flight and you flash not seeing it. That means a summoner spell is wasted and Uniboy still falls as he and the rest of Mad Team are now tasked with defending against a KT squadron that is 7,000 gold ahead, that has Baron up on everyone and is now pressuring further into their territory.
Lincoln, you'll miss it when it comes to the gold leads in games like this. Like you say, it was so competitive not 5 minutes ago. Suddenly the game is blown open. Smeb has an item lead over his opponent. About parity, I guess. You know, there's a bit of lifesteal versus the stopwatch has been bought, but it's not going to be impactful. UCal in the front is unkillable, and KT want to break the base pre-25 minutes.
What's going to stop them?
Well, before today, nothing had. It was a single Baron equals a single win for KT Rolster before today, and now they are looking to make this one complete and take their spot at the top of the group as a first seed. Only inhibitor turrets now left in their way on the bottom lane.
3 players on KT remain unkilled yet this game. UCal's deciding to start off the fight, goes into the Scion, utilizing the ultimate to zone Mad Team away. K on the side here looking for maybe a chance to isolate someone with a well-placed barrel, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Mad Team does have a large minion wave built up in the top lane. They've got their top laner in the mid lane. TP available. UCal and the rest of KT continuing this push. The tier 3 under siege taken down to about 1/3 HP now. Breeze continuing to try to find the damage, but over the wall goes KT. The damage comes in. Uniboy going to keep himself alive with the ultimate from the Lissandra as the Irelia ulti finds its targets. Breeze looking to kite himself back. It's Score going into the stasis. It's Breeze taken down by Deft. Unstoppable on this Kaisa. And who is going to challenge him now? Benny's out of the picture. Over the wall goes Deft. He's going to make it a triple. Can he find number 4? Uniboy runs away, but Deft has his number. One more auto attack to seal the deal, and that's a quadra kill over to KT Rolster's 80 carry. And that's the game-winning fight.
KT got the early dinner reservations. They want this one done. It was up in the air 5 minutes ago. It's over now.
Up in the air, and it comes crashing back down to earth. Mad Team will fall. KT will take first, and they'll take the Nexus.
Well-deserved first seed here for KT Rolster. And them, along with RNG, are going to be why teams are going to be battling so hard for those remaining first seed spots in the following day. You do not want to play these teams in the best of 5s right out of the bat in the quarterfinals.
No, sir. You want to avoid these guys as long as you can. Impressive showing here. You already said how in all but one of their games in groups, it was one Baron, one game from KT Rolster. No reason, they say, to change that up here in game number 6.
Now we can listen to the roar of the Busan faithful for the hometown favorites here when it comes to a Korean win. Fans applaud KT Rolster, the players finally on the world stage. Not quite the 6-0, but 5-1. And like you mentioned, so many tantalizing opponents lie in that quarterfinal. We might even end up with RNG and KT on one side of the bracket. And if you can't avoid them, you want to get as far away as possible either way.
Or will you take it right to them? Group B.
Maybe that's what it is.
Was a very interesting story.
That is true.
And I like that tactic.
KTC9, that would be an interesting one.
Definitely
There's lots of awesome matchups that are already waiting for us in the quarterfinals from the teams that we've seen move on so far. And now with KT and EDG together earning the first and second seeds respectively here from Group C, that's just two more heavy hitters stepping into the ring.
We definitely have some exciting quarterfinals ahead of us. And tomorrow we will find out what those matchups will be with another group to play out.
We'll also find out our final two teams. Moving on, we started with 16. We've already found 6 out of the 8 that get to move on, and that means only one day of group play left before those quarterfinals will be upon us. And to wrap up the day and look towards that final day of groups, let's hand it off to the World's Cooldown.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. Welcome to the World's Cooldown here at the end of day 7 for groups and our third elimination day. As was mentioned, we have our next two quarterfinalists, KT being one of them, securing the first seed here with the win over Mad Team.
Yeah, at least we didn't get the dankest timeline where EDG loses to TL and then KT loses to Mad to force
the
like
tiebreaker
first place
for
losers
first
game, final game.
Losers bracket for first place.
KT took care of business at the very end when they had to and get their deserving first seed.
Yeah, but it is important, you know, for them to have had that rebound, right? Because they did give a lot over to EDG, and it was a very tight game between EDG that ultimately they lost. So to come back in here and to get the victory is nice.
And Score doing it in such class in particular. I mean, we talk about how KT can carry from pretty much every single position. And I feel like at least one game throughout the entire group stage, one player did ultimately step up and kind of grab that mantle. The only one that really didn't for me was actually Deft, which was still amazing throughout the series, but was never really that hard carry moment comparatively to some of the other ADCs like Jackie Love and the likes.
Yeah, I mean, he also had a quadra kill in this game, so like, I can't necessarily say Deft played badly.
Oh, definitely still amazing.
I mean, top of the day, Deficio had said that that's, you know, no longer even Deft's role necessarily on this team is to just be the hard carry all the time.
Yeah, can you imagine the talent on the roster where Deft is just like, I don't have to shine every single game. Like, you know, you can set up the dominoes and I can just be the ADC and point click through everything.
And it's largely why this team is one of the tournament favorites and so scary is the fact that not a single one of these players has to say they're the sole carry of the team. Anybody can pick up the kills, and the whole team can file in behind them and support them on their way to that W.
I mean, KT Rolster just choose when and where they beat you, and that's why they're terrifying.
Yep. This time around, returning to that Kai'Sa, though, as was mentioned, you know, it's so interesting to me, again, the whole conversation around picks and priorities and the way that they can kind of interact with the groups themselves and how different teams are finding their wins against each other.
Yeah, I feel like that's interesting. Kai'Sa came back pretty strong.
Exactly.
In the last 2 days, actually, Kai'Sa came back pretty strong. Maybe, like, Draven shut Kai'Sa down 2 days ago in the RNG
Vitality group and everything.
So I think teams will try and practice that. Once again, we don't actually have that long of a break from this group stage to the quarterfinals.
Only a few days.
I think it's going to be a team-specific, matchup-specific thing, whether or not Kai'Sa is super pickable.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. The one thing we do know is there are still some priority picks up there in the top lane. Urgot, Aatrox seeing a lot of either picks and or bans and largely being piloted by some of these incredible top laners to great success. You know, but ultimately, with KT moving on, we are saying goodbye to the likes of Mad Team and Team Liquid. And so we've landed to a position where we can talk about these guys and their exit of the tournament as what we said, bittersweet, right? Especially for Team Liquid. But that here on this second day, there was at least that uptick, in my opinion, of competition in this group. Because we came in saying this group was the 6-0, 4-2, 2-4, 0-6 group, and that's ultimately not what happened.
I mean, yeah, we definitely had a couple of upsets, you know, in terms of if you just mirror the predictions from the first round robin to the second one, the fact that KT fell down, the fact that TL took took down Edward Gaming and were much more competitive kind of in their second round robin. But you also still had, Mad Team struggling and KT and EDG is kind of majority's opinions of who was going to pop out of this group. So I agree it's worth a closer look to really identify what happened with these teams, but I think bittersweet is actually probably just the best word for what happened to Group A.
I think the deserving teams advanced, right? EDG being able to get the win over KT mattered a lot. And I think when we say it's bittersweet for Team Liquid, it's just bitter for Mad Team, right?
Right.
It's the fourth 0-6 group stage team we've had since 2014. It actually moves the LMS to 3-12 so far, with G-Rex playing tomorrow while already being 0-3. So this is turning into a really unfortunate year for the LMS. And again, Team Liquid 3-3 for Doublelift, not making it out of the group stage once again. We saw that very emotional interview. I feel bad for the guy, but once again, coming up just short.
I just wanted to speak to the youth of Mad Team. The fact is that they haven't even been around for an entire year, so making it to Worlds, it still feels bad because they're kind of grouped collectively with the LMS. You see the Flash Wolves fall down. Now the LMS has a group where they don't pick up any wins, but ultimately Mad Team should be proud that they even made it to this situation, and they were competitive in a lot of those games.
Absolutely. We'll come back to the holistic conversation in just a moment. To hear about his thoughts heading towards quarterfinals, though, let's send it back to Shocks. This time with KT Rolster's man in the mid lane.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Yukal after KT secures the first seed in the group. Yukal, what does it mean to you to secure first seed in this difficult group at your first World Championship?
그러면 첫 번째 롤드컵에서 이렇게 어려운 그룹에서 1위로 진출 확정 지은 건 어떤 의미가 있나요?
사실 저희의 경기력이 좋다는 뜻도 되겠지만은 무엇보다 오늘 경기력이 그렇게 생각보다는 좋지 않은 1라운드에 비해서 그것이 좀 많이 아쉽긴 하네요.
Well, it can mean that our performance is good, but at the same time, I feel like our performance was not as clean as our performance in the first round, so I don't really feel satisfied.
Well, I was going to bring that up today. Seemed a bit difficult against Mad Team and, of course, against EDG. What do you think the difficulties were in those games?
네, 정말 말씀하신 것처럼 오늘 EDG전이나 매드전 전반적으로 쉽진 않았는데 어떤 어려움이 있었을까요?
저희가 싸움 같은 거에 설계를 상대편보다 더 정교하게 하지 못해서 그런 부분에서 손해를 봤던 것 같아요.
I think we were trying to make some plays with jungler and planning to make some plays out of it, but our plan wasn't really clean.
Okay, I see. Well, you still have a lot to be very happy about. First seed, and you are the youngest player at Worlds, at your first Worlds. What have you learned from playing with some of the best players of the world against some of the best players of the world?
지금 그래도 정말 1위를 아직도 확정 지은 상태이시고 또 롤드컵 출전하는 선수 중에 가장 어리십니다. 첫 번째 롤드컵인데 그러면 세계에 정말 뛰어난 선수들을 만나본 그 경험은 어땠나요?
가까이 선수들마다 각자의 스타일이 있고 각자의 장점이 있는데 그것들을 그냥 배제한다기보다는 상대해가면서 하나씩 성장 한번 배우는 과정이 돼서 정말 뜻깊은 경험이 된 것 같아요.
So all the different players have different styles and strengths. So during the process, I learned a lot and improved a lot.
Okay, well, you are already very good. Thank you very much, Yukal. Congratulations and good luck in the quarterfinals. A breakout performance so far already. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Yukal, again, the youngest player in the tournament at 17. What were you guys doing at age 17?
I was pretty good at Madden. 04.
Right? In my head, I'm like, I was playing video games, just not this well.
I think I was about to graduate. Yeah, I was like 09. Oh, God, I'm old.
I think
I said Madden 04. What are you talking about?
You're old, too, but that's fine.
It is a conversation to be had around just the success of the young players in this tournament. Both Yukal here, sitting on KT Rolster in a #1 seed. You got the rookies on Cloud9 who impressed, moving into a second seed. Vitality, although they exited with a large roster of rookies, there's a number of new names, new faces that have stepped up on the world stage to make themselves known.
And it comes to this idea of not just in, domestic regions, but kind of globally with League of Legends, of turning the page and finding the next chapter. The fact that Cloud9, such a successful organization on an international stage, is doing it not with, the veterans. I mean, Jensen did step up, Sneaky always consistent, but with this new built roster of bringing in these rookies, the fact that Uzi is finally stepping up and turning that page, but there's still the likes of iBoy and Jackie Love, these young prodigies, and now Yukal, the youngest player at Worlds, who has a monstrous performance on the international stage.
Faker not here this year. I'm confident he'll return at some point in the future, but it's still good to find that new talent across the world. Now, each matchup today had a standout performer who not only clinched a win, but the MasterCard player of the game. And those players were KT's Mata, EDG's Ray twice, TL's double lift twice, and KT score for the final game.
NA and former NA players showing up in the player of the game standings.
Oh.
Great job to Ray. I do got to say, though, his Urgot game against KT was super scary.
And hilariously, we just complimented like all the new young players coming in. They're going to be the next stage, and then it's like all veterans,
everyone
the oldest players. You've got
Some of the most practiced and veteran players on the entire stage. Well, after 6 games, KT Rolster did eventually earn the #1 seed, with EDG securing the 2nd seed, which of course spells a tournament end for Team Liquid and Mad Team. But I want to look ahead now to the quarterfinals. Again, this continuing and developing conversation around the strength of these teams cross-group as they might match up. I want to remind you guys, we thought yesterday RNG could go 6-0. We thought today that KT could be the team that goes 6-0. We haven't had it yet, but do these losses affect the way you look at these teams and the relative strength or your confidence of how they'll play in a best of 5?
I mean, I think it definitely affects RNG. I think a lot of people are much colder on RNG. In fact, in an interview, I believe Uzi even himself said, you know,
we're not the favorites
We're
anymore.
no longer the favorites. You know, KT here, you're the favorites now.
Right.
Trying to just
downplay
pass that
himself
pressure
again.
on.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think we're seeing how hard it is to go 6-0 in the group stage, and there's a reason that only 3 teams have ever done it since we switched to this format in 2014, and 2 of those teams won Worlds.
Right.
So for me, pre-tournament, I did have KT as my favorites with RNG as 2nd place. Based on what we've seen, I'm going to keep that. I'm curious, though, Frost, who had the flip of that, do you think KT are now the favorites over RNG?
No, because I don't think that KT are performing as well in late game team fights as they needed. There was the interesting statistic, because I was having this conversation with Deficio. I was like, you know, KT really haven't been pushed in the late game, and he brought up the fact that in the record in summer, their ability to come back from deficits and play the late game is actually better than it's ever been. So statistically, that would say it's untrue. You talk to Papa Smithy says those comebacks were miraculous. So from my perspective, I still think it's fair to say that we really haven't seen KT pushed to the grind, to the very brink in late game team fights. And if I believe that RNG are the best 5v5 late game team fighting in the world, and that if you're under the pressure and the intense spotlight of Worlds, 9 times out of 10 in that best of 5, you don't get a quick 25-minute game. 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get the slow, scaling, big, thundering team fights. So I have to lean towards RNG.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people will point to that EDG loss as, oh, you finally went into a mid to late game with a somewhat even game state in terms of gold. Obviously, compositions might beg to differ with, relative power levels, but that's one you lost. So you do have the potential to lose against other strong team fighting teams.
But one thing I am very worried about for RNG versus KT is Smeb versus Letme. Letme's day 2 was atrocious, whereas Ray had a great day. So if you talk about how did Edward Gaming even get to that competitive front where in a mid game they were able to take KT to a late game and win those team fights, I think a lot of it did have to do with Ray, which is why we saw him pick up 2 MasterCard players of the game. You know, he was able to go toe-to-toe, or at least survive Smeb. Letme is not in that form right now.
I do think that the Urgot versus Sion top lane matchup is something that KT will probably not opt into again. I think we saw with the way Ray was able to take over the game there. So that's one of the reasons, since I still have all the reasons that I favored KT before the tournament stands through. Honestly, I'm just like crossing as many fingers as possible, trying to cross my toes, legs are already crossed. Please do not be drawn into the same side of the bracket.
Yeah.
If they
RNG
meet
KT.
KT RNG, it just has to be a final if they're to meet. I would be so disappointed if it's a semi.
That's what I was going to bring up, because this conversation here is in a scenario where the 2 teams are actually playing each other. Of course,
we're
as
projecting
1
way into
seeds,
the
they're at
future.
least guaranteed to not play each other in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Could end up on the same side of the bracket. So what about these teams compared to any of the 2 seeds, right? This idea that do you have less confidence in KT in a best of 5 after dropping a game that they might lose a best of 5 to C9?
I mean, no, simply because, again, it's always that idea that you can't almost find any faults with KT from an individual perspective, whereas I think of all the other teams, including RNG, because we just talked about Letme, you can. You know, you look at the number 2 seeds like Cloud9 and G2. G2, when they play the 1-3-1, they look great. If they try to play the team fight, suddenly things don't look so great. Cloud9, Zeyzal and Jensen have probably the best days of their careers on day 2, but that doesn't make, the same cannot be said for the first round robin, where Zeyzal looked all out of sorts, Jensen was still trying to find his footing. So I think it's just harder to do that with KT, and you would expect in a best of 5 that the consistency, that the percentages would just fall on their favor every single time.
Yeah, I think that KT will be the favorite as the #1 seed going out. I think the team you got to keep your eyes on is EDG. I think, kind of like we said yesterday, if someone can pull Freaka, right? Like if EDG versus Freaka, I'd like to see that matchup. The explosiveness of EDG and the fact that tracking into the last day, assuming IG takes care of business, LPL is going to get all 3 teams out, right? So coming from the LPL, they're really looking to have their big year, and that's why I feel like as likely the only LPL 2 seed you got to watch it.
I was going to say, yeah, LPL on the verge of being the region with the most teams moving on to the quarterfinals if they can get it done tomorrow. Tomorrow, the teams from Group D aim to claim the last 2 spots in the quarterfinals. And going into the day, Invictus Gaming is undefeated at 3-0. Fnatic are 2-1, while 100 Thieves and G-Rex look to pull off some upsets if they want to keep their dreams alive. We already talked about it, this idea that, yes, the LPL is out to a hot start and IG could lock up another 1 seed for them. How do we feel about this group, though, and the way it might play out? Because this doesn't scream 6-0, 4-2, 2-4, 0-6 as easily to me. I think because not because I know what the upset's going to be. Well, I just feel like there's guaranteed one game doesn't go the way it's expected to go tomorrow.
There's a reason that has only ever happened once. Right? But to me, I think it's actually somewhat likely. Oh, God. Because my eyes are just drawn to the Fnatic versus IG game. Those 2 teams had a pretty close game. Even though IG smashed them in the early game, Fnatic made a comeback and then threw it all the way at Baron. And, like, the difference in the Fnatic 100 Thieves game and the Fnatic G-Rex game, they obliterated those teams. And IG did the same thing. So maybe, like, G-Rex and 100 Thieves are going to battle. We have said this before, though, and you'll randomly see G-Rex or 100 Thieves just take a game. But expectations-wise, I'm just locked into IG versus Fnatic.
And I'm curious how that matchup will change, depending on what top laner starts for both teams. If this is going to be Soaz, where Fnatic again say, you know, in what's the most important match, they decide to start Soaz, or if they're going to give Bwipo more experience time as they prepare for the best of 5. Because Fnatic's mentality is, you know, we're not looking at group stage anymore. We're looking towards the BO5s. We're looking towards top 4, or if it's going to be the Shy and Duke again.
We've seen subs play a big role, even here in the second round robin of group stages.
Yeah, absolutely. And something we also have to track going into that final day is that they're playing 3 different opponents. So the amount of focus that IG puts on Fnatic and Fnatic puts on IG is going to be way higher than the amount of focus they put into the other teams. So that does give them some of that upset potential to maybe be overlooked as IG and Fnatic are looking forward.
What's our favorite term?
Trap game.
Trap game. Okay, good. We're on the same page. That's a whole year's worth of NALCS countdown.
Yeah,
trap game.
A trust fall right in front of my eyes.
I know. I was like, this could go real bad, real fast. Anyway, the fight for quarterfinals continues tomorrow as Fnatic loads up onto the Rift versus 100 Thieves. Then G-Rex hopes to take down Invictus Gaming shortly after. 4 more games to follow until we have our quarterfinalists, and then a group draw will take place to wrap up the week. Jat, you said IG Fnatic, and it's the 6th game of the day tomorrow.
Trap games all the way towards that. Don't mess up.
Do not mess up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got 1 more day to go. That's going to do it for us here. So now for myself, the casters, the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2018.